It's exam season, baby. And that's why we're studying every aspect of fantasy hockey news that could be impacting your ability to build a winner. On the Friday episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, we're zeroed in on the Atlantic Division, what's cooking with the Ottawa Senators, Toronto Maple Leafs, and a little bit of who would you rather with two struggling superstars. Let's tap in and let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We're back in the lab. Sorry to leave you hanging on Thursday's episode, but that means we're jam-packed Friday and Saturday with all of the fantasy hockey news, betting breakdowns, and NHL coverage that you need. On the latest edition of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, we're showing love to the everydayers. Salute, much love, and thank you so much for holding us down and making us your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook, and you know what it is. Right now, new customers can place a $5 bet and get rewarded with $150 back in bonus bets if that wager hits. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Seal, we're going to get to big-time bets, even though there's only one game. I'm absolutely loving my same-game parlay. It's been a good couple of days for both of us. I think also when you hear some of the news coming out of what's going on with the Toronto Maple Leafs, we're going to pay attention, even though we talk about them a little bit over the last couple of weeks. There's a lot of fantasy value to be had here with this club. We're going to get to one of our favorite segments. Who would you rather? Two struggling stars, Zibanejad and Boeser. But we're going to start with the Ottawa Senators, and I think for good reason when it comes to Drake Batherson. You know how I feel about this player. Over to you for your take, though, because things are starting to feel like they're pointing in the right direction in Ottawa. You and I have been big supporters of this team and have been let down. So how are you feeling about them? Let's talk about their fantasy pieces. And, of course, Batherson and Ullmark, over to you. What are you thinking?
Look, there's definitely some fantasy pieces that are performing very, very well for the Ottawa Senators down the last couple of games, but I really don't think this team is yet to head in the right direction. They're an average team. They're 13-2 on the season. They're literally a 500 win percent team right now. So they are just average in the goals for column. They're 16th in the goals against. They're 16th. They are an average team that has been disappointing all season long so far. Again, we have higher expectations for the Ottawa Senators, and they haven't lived up to them, besides three players that have been very consistent. Drake Batherson being one of them, the three-headed dragon of Batherson, Tim Stützle, and Brady Tkachuk. I mean, it's been absolutely incredible to see what all three of these guys have been able to do in the offensive zone. All three of these offensive players have 30-plus points in the league right now, 10-plus goals. Drake Batherson, 8 points in his last 5 games. So he's been on a huge heater right now for the Ottawa Senators. I mean, all three of those guys have an element of physicality that they bring into the game as well. Obviously, Brady Tkachuk with 108 hits and 120 shots on goal right now. Drake Batherson, again, filling out the peripherals. He's got an 18.8 shooting percentage. And then, of course, Linus Ullmark, who we'll touch on quickly as well, has been pretty good down the last 5 games too.
Obviously a polarizing subject when we're talking about expectations compared to what has transpired on the ice. And I don't know if you saw the 5th goal scored by the Ottawa Senators against the Anaheim Ducks on Wednesday night.
I did not.
But it was a beautiful piece of board work and puck possession from Drake Batherson, teeing it up over to Stutz and put on a platter for Tkachuk in front of the net. And when I look at those three and the combination that they clearly have in terms of chemistry and offensive potency, it leads me to believe that when Ullmark is doing his thing, which he is right now, gorgeous numbers, we'll talk about that over the last 5 games, this team is just somewhat lacking in a few clear areas. like most teams, the bottom six and the blue line. And I know that's not just going to be fixed overnight, but when you see those three guys go, Steele, and Batherson this year really making me look good after he's been in the group of the Jarvises, Perfettis, and all of those guys, put him into the good side of things, I think, for your boy. We'll separate him from the Keandre Millers and all the other mess. 32 points in 28 games is absolutely sensational. And that goal that they combined for leads me to believe that this team does have it in them to at least be on the bubble for a playoff spot. It's got to come down to that blue line. I don't know if Travis Green is pushing the right buttons or not. That's a whole other situation. Let me leave it at this for you. If they can continue to, and I know it was the Anaheim Ducks, but if they can continue to click offensively like we saw against those Anaheim Ducks, against good teams in the league, that's going to give the back end more than enough leeway, especially now with Ullmark doing his thing, for this team to make some noise. Does it happen? I don't know. But I think with Ullmark turning it around, it's a much more of a possibility than even a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a tough one to put a pin in with this Ottawa Senators team. And even though Linus Ullmark has been good in his last 5 games, he has a 4-0-1 record. I believe a 945 save percentage.
Yes,
averaging a 5 save percentage in those last 5 games. You got to look at it from the bigger picture here. Look at the teams they've in the last 5. Let's not get it twisted. That's why I've mentioned, and that's why I said they are an average team that's been disappointing in the last 5 games. Or in his last 5 games, for Linus Ullmark, he's played the San Jose Sharks, the Anaheim Ducks, the Detroit Red Wings, the Nashville Predators, and the Anaheim Ducks. All 3 of those teams, 3 out of 4 of those teams are bottom 5 in goals for. The San Jose Sharks are a bottom
Great point.
in goals against. So, yeah, he's been great in his last 5 games. He's been a lot better than we've seen, but these are bad teams that he's been going up against. He hasn't been able to do it against the top teams like the New Jersey Devils or the Tampa Bay Lightning or the Edmonton Oilers or the Colorado Avalanche, who can score goals in flurries and kind of expose the Ottawa Senators defensively. Again, he's been great the last 5. Let's see if he can do it against some top tier talent in those teams I just mentioned. Regardless, when it comes fantasy wise for Linus Ullmark, it's been great to see him get a little bit more confidence there. Drake Batherson as well, I believe, for me, if I were to have Drake Batherson on my team, I would not be thinking about trading. Obviously, there's a price. There's a price for everything. If the price is right, he could definitely be on the move. But if I had Drake Batherson right now on my team, he's not moving an inch. He's staying right where he is on my roster.
I've seen a lot of conversations out there about Drake Batherson's trade value in the fantasy realm, and this one really does come down to me. Is it a year-to-year? What's the format? I like to throw that out. But considering all of the angles that you and I have just previously discussed on today's episode, we'll get to big-time bets. We're going to get to our who would you rather and the Leafs in a second. There's no way I'm letting go of Drake Batherson right now.
No, you can't.
But he's somebody that I might try and target. If there is a GM out there who's sunk, maybe I can get I want a piece of Ottawa is what I'm trying to say in terms of what I saw on Wednesday night. That power play, 4th best in the league right now, Steele, clicking at almost 28%. I want a little piece of it. I think it's can continue.
I think the New York Rangers want a piece of them as well.
Let's talk about that later in the week. We'll continue to be here 5 days a week. Sometimes we'll split it up. We'll move to a Saturday special, but every single episode we got bets and all of the fantasy coverage and NHL news you need. We'll get to the Maple Leafs after the break. We'll get to a little who would you rather with 2 struggling somewhat stars. And then we'll also be here on Saturday for a special. Your boy will be here. I'm going to talk a little bit of some over and underperforming stars that we got to keep an eye on. However, today's episode is brought to you by a few of our friends, and it starts with our friends at Prize Picks. Make your holidays bigger and brighter with Prize Picks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. You can win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. Join right now this holiday season. Prize Picks is giving away 2 free picks in December and giving away $30+ million in rewards during Pixmas. Steele, I don't know if you're in on Pixmas, but we got to be getting in on Prize Picks. Right now, download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNHL and get 50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app right now. Use code LOCKEDONNHL and get 50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Today's episode is also brought to you by the OGs at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle all of the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, those new customers get $5 winners, get $150 back in bonus bets. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything that you need to place bets on the NFL all in one place. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page that you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 wager hits. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen every single day throughout the week. You can find us at 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, Monday through Friday. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review, share with your friends and family. Once again, Flip and I could not be doing this without all of you listeners out there. So thank you so much for all that love and support. Continue to leave the comments on the YouTube channel, your feedback, any questions you have on the Twitter account as well. Flip and I will get back to you as soon as possible, like we always do. Toronto Maple Leafs getting healthy. Definitely a team that has struggled, but have gotten by with all the amount of struggles or the amount of injuries they've had so far this season. A winning record without Matthews, a winning record, Max Domi, a lot of guys that have been out of the lineup, but they're getting fully healthy now, and squeaked out a crazy win against the New Jersey Devils earlier in the week. But they're getting fully healthy. Auston Matthews back on the score sheet as well.
I think it's one of these situations that we don't necessarily want to talk about what's going on with Toronto in terms of the standings, but because of all of these beast mode fantasy pieces that they have, and Matthews starting to look like he's back to being the Matthews that the Toronto Maple Leafs need. Max Pacioretty back in the lineup, had a good start. Max Domi, good year last year, back in the lineup. And then Jake McCabe, your boy, who I know you've talked about at length in terms of a really nice, in banger leagues, week-to-week fill-in to fill out those peripherals. He's back. He's playing with Chris Tanev on that top pairing. It looks like, quote-unquote top pairing. You know what it is. Anyway, this team is winning games. This team is fourth in goals against in the NHL right now, just above some really stingy squads, the Minnesota Wild, Dallas Stars, the Toronto Maple Leafs, in terms of overall goals against. This is something new for them. You got to take a look at it. The goaltending tandem is cooking. Matthews back. Domi back, some of these pieces returning to the lineup. This is only going to mean good things. Am I going to sit here and say, Steele, this team is going to reel off 15 out of 16 wins? No, I'm not. We've been hurt before. We're not going to get crazy here. This is the NHL. But the team is cooking, and that is good for fantasy peripheral pieces like those players we named. Bobby McMahon should be back soon. If you're looking for those week-to-week streams, obviously, we'll determine the schedules, tap into Monday waiver wire. But right now, the Maple Leafs, just from a general perspective, I think it needs to be spoken about, much like we're going to talk about our next segment on the other foot, two struggling stars. But I just think given what we've seen from the Maple Leafs, even though they got badly outshot by the New Jersey Devils, I know we're going to take some heat for still staying positive. They got the dub. And fantasy-wise, I really do expect a big couple of weeks from this team.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of hard to pick those pieces up that are in the top six or in the bottom six for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, when Bobby McMahon's in there, he's one of those guys that I think you could definitely pick up on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah,
Matthew Nyes, depending on where he is, streams. Max Domi is one of those guys that I honestly would stay away from. He has 0 goals this season, 6 points in 20 games, barely shoots the puck on net. He's a fake tough guy. I mean, he doesn't throw his body around. He doesn't hit very much, which is very surprising for a player who drops the gloves as frequently as he does. Again, he's just been very off this season. Of course, he's missed some time with injury, but it's been difficult to watch Max Domi again when Bobby McMahon comes back in to the lineup from injury. He's definitely a piece that I would look for, to add in the lineup, depending on what the schedule is for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Auston Matthews back, though, that's huge for them. And just to get his confidence back, his goal scoring touch back, big game winner against New Jersey. So happy to see him back on the score sheet.
Let's talk about a couple of, and I thank you for reeling me back in on Max Domi. And I guess I should have clarified. I don't mean run out there and add whoever is
Yeah.
up there
Yeah.
playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But when you have teams cooking like this and they have so many elite forwards, you and I have talked about this at length. You just almost want to catch a little, like I was just talking about what's going on with those Ottawa big three. You want to sniff around and see who's playing with who and catch a little piece. Speaking of which, I thought you'd like this. Who would you rather that I proposed to you? Mika Zibanejad and Brock Boeser. I think this is actually perfect. Both players, and I know Boeser just had a 2-point night the other night. He had a 2-point night previously. I still think overall, I would call these two somewhat struggling stars, Zibanejad in a whole other realm. Who would you rather? For me right now, it's clear. Although at the start of this season, it might have been a completely different conversation. So I'm trying to throw out a bunch of caveats to try and make this a little bit easier for me, Steele. Over to you, though. Who would you rather, Brock Boeser, Mika Zibanejad? 7 goals for Brock, 6 for Mika. Hit me with your take here, even though I have a pretty good feeling on where you're headed.
Yeah, and when it comes to goal scoring, they're definitely in a slump, and it's been underwhelming. But it's hard to say Brock Boeser has been disappointing. I mean, yeah, he's been
True.
injured, he's missed some times, but 18 points in 20 games is still pretty solid. Obviously, you'd like to see a little bit higher with the skill set that he's shown us last year. Regardless, I'm going to go with Mika Zibanejad in this fact. You know, he's been my go-to player over the years when it comes to offensive production. Clearly, in between the ears right now, he has lost all confidence. You know, I saw a quote online the other day that apparently he lets the outside noise really affect his game. He cares a lot about what people say about him and how he's playing and what he's doing out there. And that's clearly sunken into the back of his mind and has made a very nice home back there for Mika Zibanejad. But on the flip side, when he gets going, especially with this offensive group, when we know that they're capable of Adam Fox quarterbacking on the blue line as well, we know that he can score in bunches and flurries and bunches and really help in the offensive zone. Right now, it's clear as day. It's probably Brock Boeser of who you would rather want on your team, even with the age, 27 years old compared to 31 for Mika Zibanejad, I believe, 31, 32.
Yes. Yep.
Soon to be 32. I'm still going to go back with Mika Zibanejad. 4 points in his last 5 games, 17 shots in that time period as well. He's chipping in with some blocks and some hits now more frequently.
I knew you were
trying to get that confidence back a little bit. It's been tough for the Rangers. Like I tweeted, I've been online trying to advocate for them. They won their last game in weird fashion as well, but morale has been at an all-time low. They're just really trying to climb back and get the group all together, in the right mind space. So I'm going to go with Mika Zibanejad. Long answer there, but Brock Boeser clearly has been pretty good this season so far too.
This is how I know you and I have done quite a few episodes, because right here at point number 3, when I made the notes here, and yeah, I got a couple of stats to throw your way. Maybe I'll do that after the break because I'm coming in hot and heavy. I'm not taking no prisoners, Steele. I have right here, and I'm going to read it quote for quote, even with the bad punctuation. Seemingly, Zibanejad has serious issues between the ears. Reports about confidence. Check for you. Boeser, though, had those situations, and it's clear to me that he's moved on from those. Is there still a little bit of a concern with him staying in the lineup? We can't come on here and predict injuries. We can't come on here and talk about off-ice issues. To me, Boeser was tested early on in his career. He had the confidence issues. He had those off-ice issues with family. He had a bunch of injury things that I think he's only played. I don't think he's played a whole NHL season. I think last year he came close. Was it 81 games? So those are things that go into this conversation about who would you rather own fantasy-wise. What I saw from Brock Boeser in the postseason last year, what I saw from Brock Boeser last year in the regular season, popping 40 goals on 204 shots, Steele, almost a 20% shooting percentage. Do I think that's sustainable? No, I don't. But I really do think this guy is a dangerous shooter. And all of the clutch performances over the last year, I think we are just seeing his best. Whereas Zibanejad, I think it's on the downward trend. And does he still hold a lot of value? Yes. Fair. Are the Rangers still going to have a lot of chance to prove that I'm wrong right now? For sure. Right now, I think I'm going to win this conversation long-term and maybe peripheral-wise. I think you have a point to hold with what Brock Boeser's gone through in his career and what I'm seeing lately. Also, last one, Boeser, through his first 490 games, 186 goals. Zibanejad, through 491, 145 goals. So, a little bit of a comparison, food for thought. Let's talk about it after the break if you want. Otherwise, same game parlay, ready to roll, and I'll be back for a Saturday special tomorrow.
One game on the schedule. We're going to talk about those Ottawa Senators and Carolina Hurricanes coming up after the break. But first, this episode is brought to you by Indeed. We are driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed from this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. And once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review. We appreciate all that love and support you show us Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning. Flip, one game on the schedule. We're going to get to the nitty gritty here. Ottawa Senators and the Carolina Hurricanes. Same game parlay, of course. Over to you, my friend. What's your first pick of the night?
How about 31 points for the captain in 28 games for the Ottawa Senators, Brady Tkachuk? I don't usually do this, but I'm going to start with my lock of the night. Brady Tkachuk, anytime point. This is a same game parlay, so I'm okay with cheaping out on some of these. I'm going to go Senators money line as well, and I'll explain that in a second, even though all of the recent head-to-head numbers clearly favor the Canes. I got the Sens on the money line as well, and I'm going to take the under. I'm going to tease it up just like I did the other night, again, because it's a same game parlay. I'm okay with it. Under 7.5, that would be my first pick. The Ottawa Senators are starting to impress me at the offensive end, and I think the mojo starting to roll might be the perfect little time to play a team like the Carolina Hurricanes that I think for the most part, they have had their number. So in his career, 5 goals, 5 assists for Tkachuk in 15 games against the Hurricanes, but I'm spitting it out quick because this is a tough spot to pick anything. However, I'm liking this one. Under 7.5. Brady Tkachuk, anytime point as my lock, and I'm going to go with the Sens on the money line. I'm pretty sure it's favored in Carolina's side. Over the last 10, my tabs are letting me down here in a very big way. Those are the 3 picks. Big kind of confidence builder against the Ducks. The Carolina Hurricanes also looking into those. They have been beating up on bad teams and losing to the good ones. Their wins lately have been against really bad teams. Not saying the Ottawa Senators are not that, but with the confidence brewing in Ottawa, I will go Sens money line under 7.5 and favorite pick lock of the night, Brady Tkachuk anytime assist.
I like the lock of the night. I like the Brady Tkachuk anytime point in this game. He's been phenomenal offensively in all aspects for the Ottawa Senators, but this is a very bad team. And like you just said, the Carolina Hurricanes have beaten up on very bad teams. I think this is going to be a back and forth offensive matchup. So with that being said,
another side bet.
It's not, we could win on both these picks.
Oh yeah, true.
Hurricanes and Sens first pick of the night over 6.5 in this matchup. Look, like I just mentioned, or like we talked about in today's episode, Linus Ullmark has been good in the last 5 games, but he's been playing bottom 5 teams. Yep. This is a very dangerous offensive team in Carolina Hurricanes. Linus Ullmark has been known to let in a couple of squeakers this year. Kochetkov has let in a couple of muffins, some soft ones himself. Okay. He's been known to do that occasionally. I think this one is going over the number. I'm taking the over 6.5. I'm also going with the Hurricanes on the money line. They've won 7 out of the last 10 between them and the Ottawa Senators. And my last pick, I'm going with Martin Necas. 2+ points in this game. He's got 2 multi-point games in his last 2. He's got 43 points in 28 games so far this season. He has been putting up dominant performances. Again, I see a back and forth, a 5-3, 5-4 type of game between the Canes and the Senators. Once again, Martin Necas 2+ points, Hurricanes money line, and the Hurricanes Sens over 6.5 will be my lock of the night.
One of those situations that perhaps what we're taking from this, gleaning from it, if you will, is maybe you dial it back, step away from it. Perhaps Steele and I are a bit degenerate. We got a little bit of cash in the old pocketbook. I appreciate everybody that's been in the DMs, giving us so much feedback, so much love. Means the world to both Steele and I. Wouldn't be doing the pod without y'all. Wouldn't be doing it without my boy Steele. Salute to you through exam season, crushing it. Really appreciate you holding us
Thanks,
down.
bud.
Don't miss me. I'll be back tomorrow. Saturday special, cooking up a little weekend fun and some over and under achieving fantasy stars.
We're getting after it 5 days during the week. Another Saturday special coming up as well. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen every single day. For your second listen, you make sure you go check out and subscribe to the Locked On NHL podcast. The link is in the description below. You don't even have to go searching for it. Make sure you go check it out. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. From both Flip and I, we wish you good luck with your bets this weekend and tonight, and we shall see you back here again on Saturday.